Hey everyone, before we hop into my video, I did want to let you know that I've once again partnered up with one of my favorite brands, Bellesa, and we are doing another massive giveaway where we are sending out free toys and gift cards to everyone that signs up. So make sure you stay tuned for more details. Dude, I just texted you like 27 times. I have so much to get you up on. Hello? Hello? I know. Everyone calm down. It's really not that big of a deal. Stop. Okay, fine. I'm back. I need to take my medication. Would y'all tell me if I look ugly? Anyway, I know I've been missing for a hot minute, and I promise I'm going to dive into all of that in this video. Instead of it being like a FaceTime with Emily, think of it more as a podcast with Emily. Anyway, because I know this video is going to be so long and there's so much that I need to cover, I basically came up with a list of my talking points. And so if any of this interests you, stick around because I'll get to it. I don't know how to make the little chapter markers on videos, but I'll try and figure it out for you. But before we talk about any of that, I want to tell you about the amazing giveaway that we're doing. By now, you should know that Bellesa is one of my favorite companies to work with. They are a company founded by women who are truly excited to celebrate all things intimacy and sexual wellness. While I have you here, I did want to showcase 2 new products that they just sent me, which I will just say I strongly recommend. First, we got the Thrust. The Thrust is a powerful dual spot vibrator that has multiple modes and intensity levels to choose from. And as its name would imply, Bellesa developed this product to deliver a realistic and natural thrusting motion. Also, one of my favorite features about the Thrust is that it has a ring of swirling beads at the base, which I had never experienced before, and I'm not mad about it. But if you don't want to take my word for it, feel free to go check out their hundreds of 5-star reviews. And the second toy they sent me was the Demi Wand. This will be your new best friend. The Demi Wand is a powerful and versatile wand vibrator designed to deliver intense pleasure and satisfaction with no annoying pattern modes. If you know, you know. Despite the Demi Wand having a powerful motor, it operates quietly for discreet use. Just like the Thrust, it is also waterproof, made of non-porous, super smooth silicone, and it comes with its very own rechargeable case. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Bellesa and I are doing another massive giveaway because we do want to hook you up with all the goodies. So click that link down below, sign up for the giveaway, and you'll either be receiving a free toy or a gift card. So go check it out, let me know what you got, and let's get back to the vlog. All right, so obviously I owe you guys an explanation because I don't think I've posted on my channel in 3 months now. Whoopsie. And so you've probably been curious as to where I've been and what I've been doing. I did post a little update on my Instagram basically saying that I'm working on a really big project for my channel, and we will get into that, I promise. But before then, I do want to go over just kind of like what you've missed, what happened, what's going on, just so you're caught up. I'll try and keep it as concise as possible, but if I do end up rambling, so sorry, just skip ahead a few seconds. I don't know where to start. This is what happens when you disappear from the internet for a few months, and then you just try and pick it up like nothing happened. Can we all just pretend that didn't happen? Can we all just pretend that I've been posting this entire time? Great, thank you. I feel like this is already a mess and all over the place. Again, what do you expect? What do you expect at this point? Let's start with the obvious. I'm clearly in a new space. I don't think that I showed much of me and my girlfriend's old apartment just because there really wasn't that much to show. Our old apartment was like 500 square feet, if that. 1 bedroom, and everything else was kind of like a studio space. And so there just really wasn't that much to show, but we have moved. And I know a bunch of you are going to be asking for a new apartment tour, and I'm going to give that to you. We're so close to being done. We've only been moved in here for like 2 or 3 weeks now. It's double the size, 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, massive, massive, massive upgrade. And I know there's already someone tip-tapping away down at the comments and being like, you always complain about how poor you are. How can you afford to move and all this new stuff? I'm getting there. I need a sipple. So let's get into it. We're living in a new place. I'm gonna give you an apartment tour, but we want to be completely done before we show you our living space because there's just a few last things that we need to finish, like painting and hanging up a few pieces of art that like I know we'll be mad at ourselves if we give you the apartment tour before that stuff is done. And so we want to be done before we show you. So apartment tour is coming. Give us 2 weeks. I'm gonna say 2 weeks. Give us 2 weeks and we'll show you. All right, now the story of why we moved. Basically, when I moved from California to Texas to be with my girlfriend, she obviously obviously was already in a lease, and that lease wasn't up until July of this year. And so we were just going to continue living there until July. And then we said, come July, we're going to look for a bigger space, because with anyone's, but especially two women living together, we have a lot of stuff, a lot of clothes. We needed a bit of an upgrade. Plus, we have so many people come and stay with us all the time that we knew we needed a second bedroom. One, because I needed a workspace. I work fully remote, always from home, because I like sitting in my jammies and working on the couch. But also I have a lot of equipment, like podcast equipment and lighting and like microphones and all this stuff that takes up a lot of space, whether I'm using it or not. Even storing it takes up a ton of space. And so I told my girlfriend, I need an office space. We need a guest room, because we have people come and stay with us literally over 4 times a month, which may not sound like a lot. Like if you're younger and like you have sleepovers all the time, one, what are you doing here? Unless you're like a teen and you have sleepovers. Do teenagers still have sleepovers? I don't know. I wasn't a cool teen. I had no friends. But anyway, when you're an adult and you have a full-time job and you work, it's not very often that people come and stay with you. But my girlfriend and I love having people over, even if it's just for a little, let's drink some wine and watch an episode of whatever show, or we'll go out to like a little concert or something, and then everyone will come back here and continue drinking, and they'll just like crash and spend the night. And at our old apartment, the tiniest person would sleep on the couch, because it was basically a love seat. And so they'd have to sleep in the fetal position all night. And then whoever was lucky enough got the air mattress, but also wasn't lucky because the air mattress would like deflate through the night, whatever. And so we were like, oh my God, we need a 2-bedroom. But we were going to stock it up until July, because I am the brokest I've ever been in my entire life. And my girlfriend has like a lot of adult stressors going on right now. And so she was not really gunning to move. That all changed. Also, if my camera angle shifts a little bit here and there, ignore it. It's that I have to keep stopping and restarting the video I'm on, because I talk for so long, I run out of space. Anyway, I would say, and I don't know what kind of curse this is, at some point I am going to make a video, like a much lengthier video about all of this, because it's such good story times that now I feel comfortable saying, now that I'm away from those situations. But I have had some curse placed upon me for my whole life. I have the worst neighbor drama that's like ever existed. The first apartment I ever moved into, our neighbor next door, he would basically watch our schedule and figure out what times I was taking the dogs out for a walk in the morning, and he would set his alarm. And so he would just happen to be out on a walk in pitch black, because I'd have to walk them at like 5 a.m. at the same time that I was. And then he would watch adult content very loudly, to the point where like he was purposely turning it up so we could hear. Anyway, whatever. And I just have disastrous neighbors, especially in California. I think I've mentioned it a few times on this channel before, but I had a really scary incident with my upstairs neighbors. The police were called, instructions were given. It was a whole freaking mess. So I was very happy to get out of there. And then when I moved in with my girlfriend here in Austin, I was like, oh, curse is broken, because her upstairs neighbors were lovely. We didn't know who they were, but we knew that they were quiet and respectful, and sometimes a kid would come visit. So we always figured it was like a single dad that was divorced, and so the kid would come visit him on the weekends, but they were very quiet and amazing. Around the same time I moved in with her, maybe 2 or 3 months after I moved in with her, we don't know what happened. It's still unclear, but we don't know if he happened to get a new girlfriend or if someone else moved in, but the tides turned. It was becoming unlivable. And so for the past few months, we had to call the police several times for DV. And even though we personally knew that we'd be okay, because like obviously the neighbors didn't know that we were the ones calling the cops, because they were so loud that multiple people around them would call the cops, so they never knew if it was us or someone else. We didn't feel like we were putting ourselves in like a risky position by any means. It still became like a very unlivable environment, because DV would go on all hours. It was to the point where I have to make a lot of client calls for my virtual assisting business. I have to call a lot of brides and a lot of wedding planners, and I would have them on speakerphone, because a lot of the times I would just have my phone like sitting on my chest or on my lap, and then I'd be typing notes as they're talking, and then they could hear what was going on. Like they would ask if I was okay, because they could hear the people upstairs screaming for help and like, whatever. Also, I feel like I probably should have put a trigger warning on this. Retroactive trigger warning. Sorry, that was insensitive. And so it was disrupting my work. Then it started disrupting our sleep, because they would go until about 2 a.m. And then they would maybe quiet down from like 3 to 5 a.m. And then they'd start fresh back up at 5 a.m. And it was just all hours of the day, nonstop. It just became very stressful and interrupting our work and interrupting our sleep, constantly having to call the police. And like, it was just a mess. And so finally we complained to the leasing office enough, where they ended up telling us, hey, there's nothing we can do, because there are laws around DV situations and we have to tread very carefully to like keep everyone safe and blah, blah, blah. But they basically said, if you want to get out of your lease early, you can. We said, great. And so we just kind of kept that in the back of our mind because we weren't, again, like I'm very broke. My girlfriend is very stressed about other things. We were not in the headspace to be moving. And then we still talk about this a month later. I don't know how this started. I just remember my girlfriend texting me one day and being like, what do you think of this house for rent? And I was just like, oh, that's really cute, but like, we can't afford it. And she was like, haha, yeah, but a girl can dream. And then about 2 days later, we were signing a lease for a new place. I am still trying to connect the dots on how this happened so quickly because, again, I was not in a financial place to move. She was not in an emotional place to move. We don't know what happened. What I think happened is that one of her best friends is moving up here from a different part of Texas. We were helping her because she can't like just come up here whenever she wants and like apartment hunt. And so I think while we were helping her apartment hunt, we stumbled across places that we were like, oh, that'd be really cute for us to move. And then we just kind of got looped into the cycle of, okay, it's time to move. And then every time we'd be like, no, we don't have the money or we're not ready or whatever, something else would happen upstairs and we'd be like, oh yeah, it's time. And my girlfriend and I really started hopping into hanging out with friends and doing all this and that. All of our friends are in the city. We would have to drive in to like hang out with our friends and then we'd have to drive all the way back home. And so much stuff was adding up. And now that we knew we had this option to leave, it just became more and more of weight on our shoulders where we were like, why aren't we just doing this now? Even though we had perfectly good reasons. But anyway, we started looking on Zillow, looking at blah, blah, blah. Nothing was really popping out at us. And then we found this absolutely perfect place. And right as we were about to submit the application for it, it got snatched. Then we found another really perfect place. Well, it was like 85% perfect, but we were so stressed out about losing it because apartments were going so fast. And we found out later it's because apartments, whether it's legally or if it's just a smart business move, apartments have to keep up with market rate. And right before summer, that's a hot tip for you. Right before summer, right at the beginning of spring, market prices plummet because everyone moves in summer. And so no one's really moving before summer. And so they don't really have business. And so all of the prices come down. This apartment that was 85% what we wanted, it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but it was such a good price. Everyone was trying to snatch this up that we were scared that we were going to lose if we didn't sign. And so we were this close to signing. And funny story, we were driving away from that place and we were driving home. And my girlfriend looks at me and she goes, do you think we should just sign? Maybe it's not perfect, but we can make it perfect. We can make it our home. And I was just like, I just have the weirdest feeling. I can't explain it, but I have this gut feeling that something better is out there. I think we should just hold off a few days. And she was like, okay. Literally 30 seconds later, we are driving by this complex and it has these huge signs out front that says like price reduction, leasing, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, those look nice. And then she was like, yeah, but we can't afford those. I've looked at those before. Like they're really expensive. And so I start like looking it up online and then I see the prices are well within our price range. And so then I call the guy at the office and I was like, hey, could we get in for a tour and to talk about pricing? Because I'm confused about these prices. And so within 30 seconds of me saying there's something better out there, we stumble here. Within 2 minutes of that, I was on the phone with the guy. And within 10 minutes of arriving and like touring the space that we're in now, we were signing a lease. It happened so fast, but we had to hop on it because normally this unit, like this exact unit we're in, goes for $3,100 a month. Okay. 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, big layout, whatever. And he said because the market prices were so low, it was going for $1,000 less. I have to work a few more hours every week to make sure that I'm not just scraping by to make rent because it is a little out of my budget at least. It's so worth it to have this space to be happy and to be serene. And like there truly is not a price tag for happiness. I know privileged sentiment. But in my case, it's true. I just knew I had to work a little extra in order to have what I wanted. And so I love this place. We're so excited about this place. I will give you a tour. And in that video, I'll tell you like how this meets all of our requirements, even our ridiculous ones. We had our basic requirements. Like we definitely wanted 2 bedrooms. We definitely wanted to be closer to the city, had to be pet friendly and like within our price range. But then my girlfriend and I also made bucket list requirements. We're like, oh, that would be like so cool. And they're all met. There's not one requirement that was not met. Oh, well, one, and I'll explain that in the video, but it's amazing. So long story long, that has taken up a lot of my energy recently. So that is one reason why I haven't been posting online is because it happened so quickly where we had to book moving companies and I had to like get my storage unit in order and we were repairing our old apartment, we were selling things and we were buying things and we were running errands. We were cleaning out this space. And then as soon as we got moved into here, where I was like, oh, we can take a breath. Nope, everything had to be unpacked because my girlfriend's sister and best friend were coming this past weekend. 2 weeks after we moved in, they were coming to spend the weekend with my girlfriend to celebrate Taylor Swift and her new album. And so it was like everything had to be done and unpacked and everything had to be bought and everything had to be sold and everything had to be painted, everything had to be repaired. And it was like da 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 da. This past month has been the most chaotic month trying to make sure everything was ready for them when they came, and we got it done, baby. We got it done. But between packing, moving, unpacking, repairing, selling, all the stuff I named, it has been chaos. I literally only had time to do my day job in order to have the money I needed to pay rent and everything here. And so I kind of put social media on a back burner. And let's just hop into the next thing because I've covered the moving thing. Let's hop into the next thing. Another reason that I went MIA. Okay, so since Thanksgiving, maybe, I feel like my personal life has kind of just gone to shambles a little bit. And I'm gonna say what I say, and whatever I don't say, you're fine. Just know if I'm not fully explaining something. I had someone comment that, how like shitty. I had someone comment that on my video where I say that I was thinking about getting a service dog. I like said in that video, I'm gonna just tell you that my life is going to shit. But that's really all I can tell you because this isn't just about me, but it's also about someone else. And someone commented and was like, you're so clickbaity and why would you say you have something going on and then not explain it? It's not like I'm trying to be one of those girls that like shows up with like a hospital bracelet, you know, in middle school and like waves it in your face and is like, I don't want to talk about it. It's literally, I want to be transparent that something huge and hard is going on in my life, but it's not just my news to share. And so that's why I'm saying today, whatever I share, and whatever I don't, know that it's for a reason. Rewind. Starting in Thanksgiving, my life started crumbling a little bit, as it does. And I feel like this is a trend in my life. I've had some pretty not so nice responses as to why this happens. I've said this before, and I will probably continue saying it. I feel like there's always something. I feel like since I was around 16, I haven't gotten a break in the sense of I haven't ever felt settled or without drama or without chaos or without something tragic happening. I haven't felt that way since I was 16, okay? And I'm about to be 32. Ugh, don't want to talk about it, but I'm about to be 32. And so what is that, 16 years? So in 16 years, it has always been something where I can't just have a period in my life where I'm just like at peace and nothing happens. A lot of times when I say that, either in the comments or even some people that I considered friends would say to me, and I hate this notion, they would say to me, well, that's the energy you attract. It's always something because there's a common denominator and you're the common denominator, implying that the reason I have tragic things happen to me, people getting sick and people dying and people not being my friends, they're implying that it's my fault because I attract that kind of energy. What am I supposed to do about that? I don't know. It confuses me and I hate when people say that. So if you were thinking of commenting that, don't, please. But around Thanksgiving, I found out that my mom was very, very sick and the odds were not very good, which is why I said in that service animal video. Also, if you hear my AC kick on, I'm so sorry. It's a little toasty in here. But that's why I said in that service animal video, I wanted to get one specifically for like flying and for anxiety and all that kind of stuff because I thought I was going to be taking a lot of trips back and forth between Texas and Virginia, where my mom is, so that I could help out and like yada, yada, yada. Yeah, when we first learned the news, the prognosis was not good at all, to the point where some of us were talking about end of life measures. And so that hit really hard. And then even though her prognosis is much better now, and a lot of the treatments have worked very well, and the surgery worked very well, and whatever, that is always like a lingering, looming, wake up and every day I think about it. I am very much like a spiraler with my mental health, which I will get into because I finally have a solid explanation. But when something pops up that causes me anxiety or it's unknown or whatever, I cannot stop thinking about all of the negative outcomes until I have a solution. Wouldn't you know it, just got diagnosed with OCD. So this entire time, when doctors thought I had borderline, when doctors thought I had anxiety, when doctors thought I had depression, when doctors thought I had insomnia, when doctors thought whatever. It was all just OCD. So that was great. And the sad part is, well, let me get into that in a second. Like I said, this is a true FaceTime with Emily where I'm going to be all over the place. So when I learned that my mom was very sick and whatever, even though slowly we started seeing improvements and things were working and like the prognosis was getting better, it was still the second my eyes would open, it would be, well, what's my life going to look like if she's gone? How am I going to take care of my dad? What's going to happen with this? How am I going to deal with this? Blah, blah, blah. And it was just like cycling all day long. And so that started around Thanksgiving. And then around that same time, I was, and still am, working on switching my medication. Again, there have been people in my comments, and I don't know why I have let this get to me recently, starting back around the holidays. I've only been a part of the internet for about 2 years. Like once I started the podcast with Rachel, I've always had really thick skin. People could comment about how they think I'm annoying or how I think like I'm boring or how they think like I'm ugly or like whatever. And like it really never got through to me unless I was doing something that someone thought was wrong. If I said something that like wasn't politically correct, which rarely happens because I do pride myself on being like very well educated and like nice, but like if someone said that I had done something politically incorrect, or if someone said that like I was offensive, or someone said that I was like rude in some way, those comments would affect me because I really do truly pride myself on being a good person. And so when they would point out an instance where I was not a good person, that would make me feel really bad. But then I would just take that correction and I'd educate myself and then I'd move forward. Whatever, but it never bothered me when people said their regular opinions about me. But starting around the holidays, I don't know if it's because everything else was going to shit, and so this was going to shit as well, and like I couldn't maintain this thick skin anymore. But starting around the holidays, it was all those little comments that normally I just laugh at. They started to really freaking get to me. Someone commented on my service animal video where I was basically saying, my doctor thinks I might have OCD, or my doctor thinks I might have this. And someone commented and was like, oh my God, how many mental diagnoses could you possibly be diagnosed with? You think you have everything at this point, and blah, blah, blah. That got in my head where I was like, oh my God, do I not really have this and that and A, B, and C, and D? And I went on the spiral. It took months of therapy for me to calm myself down. When I used to consider YouTube a very welcoming platform where, at least with you guys, like not within the algorithm itself, because it does suppress and demonetize a lot of my content whenever I do talk about mental health, which sucks, but at least for you guys, which is what matters and why I continue to post it, even if it will get demonetized, you've always been a very welcoming space of like, you can come on here and you can cry, and you can come on here and tell us about therapy and what's going on and this and that. I do receive dozens of DMs from people basically being like, you are helping us by talking about this. It makes us feel not so crazy. It makes us feel not so alone. And so for one person to get on and to be like, how many diagnoses are going to have? And then the following video, someone commented on that, maybe social media. And I know that they were doing it from a good space. Truly, I understand that. But they commented and they were like, if you're working so hard on your mental health and you're so unstable, which I admitted in that video, they said maybe social media is not the space for you. Like maybe this isn't the job for you because you have to be very tough and very like regimented or whatever the word is. So for someone that's like working through their mental health and working through their medication, maybe this is not the space for you because you're not able to commit to it. Because I think I'd said in that video, the reason I hadn't posted in so long is because I was going through this bad depressive episode. And they're like, well, then maybe social media isn't for you. If you can't push through those things and continue to do your job, maybe this isn't the job for you. And that got in my head. Normally, when I would hop online and I do a FaceTime with Emily, I would tell you about this new stuff that I'm trying and this new therapy and like what's going on in my life, and I complain about my life. I found myself being excited to go and pick up the camera because this is very therapeutic for me and almost like an online diary or whatever. I found myself picking up the camera and getting excited to film and then being like, oh, I can't, because that comment would pop in my head. And that comment would be telling me that no one would want to watch my content because I was like complaining too much about mental health or I was too unstable. It was just a few months of not exactly me going through a huge depressive episode. I was still functioning and living my life and having a good and happy life, doing everything normally. But when it came to the category of social media, I was depressed. And I was like, no one wants your content. And then when I was just slowly starting to climb out of that, I went to, because I haven't been, I'll go on for 5 5 minutes, maybe every 3 days. But right now I'm like on a really big, and I have been for months, like a really big TikTok kick and a really big YouTube kick, because Instagram to me, I found myself becoming very obsessed with, and not in a good way. I found that I was becoming very, very obsessed with numbers. And so even though my YouTube channel was growing, for some reason my Instagram was tanking, and it seemed like the more I posted on my story, the more that I posted on my feed, every day, the more followers I was losing. And I couldn't figure out why, and it was becoming a sick obsession. I literally couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I know that people tend to lose followers if you don't post regularly. So I was like making sure to post regularly, and then I would still lose followers. And I didn't post for like a week, but then when I posted to my story, I would lose more followers. And so it was like every time I was posting content and it was reminding people that they were subscribed to me and followed me on Instagram, it was like they were clicking the unfollow button. It became a toxic place for me. It became, I was looking at my analytics every day trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. I remember not posting things on my story that I normally would, because I was like, oh, what if someone sees that and thinks it's boring and then unfollows me? Where normally I used to treat my Instagram, and let's be honest, all of my social media, like any normal person would that doesn't want an internet career, even though I do want an internet career. I would just go on there and basically spam. And I'd be like, this is what I'm doing today. And I'd post funny things, and I'd post memes, and I'd post ugly pictures of myself, because I truly love being authentic online, if you hadn't noticed. And so I was always very authentic in my social media, but then every time I was losing followers, I would become obsessed, and I'd be like, what did I do? It became such a negative space for me and such an obsession for me that I realized I had to take a step back. I know that obsession is still there, because I got on Instagram yesterday, and I work really hard. I've been working really hard to make sure that I don't go and look at my own profile, because I can see my following count. I don't want to know anymore if I'm losing followers or gaining followers. And then 2 days ago, maybe even last night, I clicked on Instagram and I somehow swiped the wrong way by accident, and it ended up swiping me to my profile. And then I saw that I was down to 17K flat. And when I last looked at Instagram, which was like 2 months ago, I was at 17.2. And then before the holidays, I was at 17.7. And so I was like, what am I doing? And so, and then plus on top of that, YouTube has been unsubscribing people from me, and it's been proven. I thought that like I was going crazy, but then I had someone that has been a very big supporter since day one and still is, and she messaged me and was like, they have unsubscribed me 3 times now, and she had receipts. And so all of a sudden, not only was like my Instagram tanking, but my YouTube was tanking. And at this point, I don't know what to do. I don't post, I lose followers. I post, I lose even more followers. What is it that I'm doing? I had to take a step back, and I'm going to have to learn how to navigate this going forward. I think I'm just going to have to stop caring. And that is so much easier said than done, but it's like, I'm going to have to stop caring. If you have any idea why that's happening, or if I'm doing something wrong, feel free to tell me. But I'm just going to say going forward, I'm going to try really hard not to look at my profile, and I'm just going to like keep continuing and posting, because I can't do anything about it. And it was just occupying so much of my mind. So anyway, to recap, mom is sick. I was getting comments that really stuck with me. And then all during that, I didn't feel like I could be honest with the internet, because I thought that everyone was getting tired of me talking about mental health and like whatever. And then on top of that, I was also redoing my medication. And like, this is something that I'm probably going to be talking about for a good another 2 years, because this is the truth of mental illness. Is it takes, and sometimes it doesn't. And for those people where your psychiatrist gets it right the first time, because just in case you don't know and you happen to be one of God's favorites and you don't have mental illness, when you get diagnosed with anxiety or depression or anything else, and they can give you a medication for it, it's basically like shooting in the dark. You don't know what's going to work. You just kind of have to try it out. And so when you get diagnosed, like for me, when I got diagnosed with anxiety 4 years ago, it wasn't until 3 years ago that I finally accepted medication, because it literally clicked in my head one day. Why would I continue suffering when there's a solution? Why am I so against taking medication when it could make my life so much better? And I don't know why it took me 30 years to get to that point and to make that realization, because people have been telling me forever I have anxiety and I need meds. But I think I had to prove to myself first that like I could try the therapy, I could try the exercise, I could try the sleep and then whatever. And if that doesn't work, then I can get the medication. Why would I not just, it's a pill. And it's like, yeah, some medication you do need to take time to think about whether you want to be on it or not because it has really bad side effects. But the ones they were offering me, it was like, oh, maybe you'll get a dry mouth. Maybe you'll have to pee a little bit more. Why did I wait so long? But anyway, they prescribe you a medication and then you have to wait like 2 or 3 months to see if that medication works. And if that medication doesn't work, then they prescribe you another one, or sometimes they'll bump up or lower the dosage of the one you're on. And it's just like this literal, I don't know how to describe it. You get the point. They're guessing, okay? And so even though I've been on anxiety medication for 2 years now, I'm still trying to figure it out. Starting like 3 months ago, I asked my psychiatrist to bump up my anxiety meds because even though like I was already doing so much better than I had my entire life, I was like, I know I can still get a little bit further because I was still having thoughts and physical reactions to things that wouldn't bother most people. And so I was like, I want to get there with this medication and with therapy and with taking care of myself. I can get to where I need to be, but I think I need a little bump. And so he bumped me up. He thought it was an okay idea and whatever. But once I bumped up in the medication, weird stuff started happening. That's another thing. You have to decide like what's safest for you. And I decided I could push through the weird things happening to see if it works. Because a lot of times when you bump up or go down or change medication, your body can have physical reactions to it, or you can have emotional reactions to it. And if it's harming you in a way that it's not worth it, then your psychiatrist will just immediately take you off of it and put you on a different one. And I did have to do that with one medication pretty early on in this little journey of mine because it was for my depression. And instead of making me happier, it actually made my depression worse. It can happen sometimes, but I called my psychiatrist immediately and was like, hey, I'm not having good thoughts on this. And she was just like, oh, okay, we'll switch you. But sometimes, obviously when it's not life-threatening, they'll be like, try to push through. Because if you can push through these 2 hard weeks of these weird physical reactions you're having, and you can break through that 2 weeks, you'll all of a sudden feel better. And it's always worked for me. And so I was like, okay, so 3 months ago when I bumped up in the medication, I started getting really weird vertigo symptoms. And before, when I had insomnia, now it's really hard for me to wake up. And there was something else that was happening. I was getting really bad headaches too. And so my doctor was like, do you think you can push through these things to see if the medication works once you get to the other side, or like, are these so debilitating to you that we need to switch you and bump you back down? And I was like, no, I think I can push. It was months, and I still get it every now and then. It was 2.5 months of picture you just spun around in a circle for 3 minutes straight as fast as you can, and then you try and walk in a straight line. That's what was going on in my head for a solid 2 months, but it would just happen randomly. And so like, it was really hard for me to wake up, which meant I was always late logging on to like my day job work. And then I had to take a nap in the afternoons because I like couldn't stay awake. And then 6 to 10 times a day, I would be either sitting there or standing or walking or who knows what else. And then all of a sudden, everything would start spinning. And then I would feel this like fuzz in my head. And then I'd get a really bad headache. And it wasn't a migraine because it didn't happen when I wasn't on the medication. It was very strange. And it has lessened a lot. It only happens about once every few days now, which is good. My sleep is getting back to normal, and I can tell that the anxiety medicine is working and doing what it's supposed to do, so it was worth it. And then at the same time that all of that was happening, I was talking with my best friend, and she has been diagnosed with OCD for a few years now. And I said to her, I think I'm gonna fire my therapist because it's just not working anymore. I was like, I don't know if I'm to the point where I've been in so many years of therapy. I already have all the tools I need, and I'm just not understanding how to properly apply them, or if she's just a bad therapist. And I was like describing to my best friend about how I have worked through my anger issues from childhood. And I still am. This is all stuff that I'm still working on, but like, I felt like I'd gotten a handle on. When I first started therapy, it was my anger issues and then my abandonment issues. And then I had worked on self-esteem and self-worth. But the one thing that no therapist has ever been able to help me with is this cyclical pattern of anxiety that's in my head. And I said, I've read all the books. I've tried all the techniques. I've tried all the different types of therapy. The only type of therapy to this day that I have not tried is the EMDR therapy, and that's just because it just seems expensive and I haven't looked into it yet. I have gone through 6 therapists in 4 years. They have all tried different techniques, and nothing can snap my brain out of that cyclical pattern. Like, once I have an anxious thought, it just loops and loops and loops and loops and loops and loops, and it never goes away until either I have made it through the anxiety-inducing experience, or I've come up with a solution. And I'm just so tired of it. I feel like that is the last piece in my brain that's like driving me nuts. And then my friend looked at me and she goes, have you ever been tested for OCD? And I was just like, no, I don't think I have that, because in my head, OCD is you have to touch something 3 times or your family dies, or say a certain phrase 6 times, or get in a car accident. Like, that's what I've always thought OCD is. And even though I watched what her OCD is, it still wasn't exactly what mine is, which is why I never connected it. And she was like, you should really ask to like get tested for it, because a lot of times women get misdiagnosed with anxiety and depression when really it's OCD. And so I asked my therapist to do the test. We did 3 different testing things. All of them came back severe or whatever. And funny enough, my most severe sections of OCD are having to do with pets, which explains why. I don't know if I ever talked about this online, but every time I'd have to leave Daisy at home to go to work or to go out with friends or something, it was a 2-hour-long process, not for her, but for me. Because I'd have to go around, and even if I hadn't cooked in days, I'd have to put my hand on each burner on the stove and open up the oven and put my hand in and touch the racks to make sure that the stove hadn't magically turned on and that she wasn't like going to die in an apartment fire. And I had to go around to each outlet and unplug everything from the outlets in case they caught fire and she was going to be trapped and she was going to die. I set up multiple cameras around my home so that I could check to make sure the apartment wasn't going to catch fire and she wasn't going to die. And it was like, I wouldn't leave collars on her because I had convinced myself if I left a collar on her and I wasn't there with her, she would walk by, she'd walk by cabinet knob or a doorknob and the collar would get stuck and then she would choke herself. It was debilitating. When I tell you it was debilitating, it was debilitating. I could not leave her. It was to the point towards the end of her life. This was before I knew that she was really sick. Towards the end of her life, I wouldn't even go hang out with friends just for like an hour or 2 unless I could hire a dog sitter to come to my apartment and sit and be with her. I was like, you don't have to walk her or feed her, like she's already taken care of. I just need you to sit. So that way, in case she chokes on something, in case she would decide she wanted to nibble on a couch cushion, and what if one of the pieces of foam gets lodged in her throat and she dies? It was psychotic. And so that makes sense. And then health, like the health category of OCD, which would explain why I always think I have cancer and like why I always think I have a brain tumor or whatever. And then a lot of the boxes for like inflicting harm on others were checked off as well. That doesn't mean, but it means a great example is if my nephew were to come up to me and ask for an apple to eat, I'd have to wash that apple in boiling hot water to make sure I got all the chemicals off of it. And then I'd have to make sure the surface I was cutting it on was freshly sanitized. And then if an apple piece dropped, I wouldn't let him eat it, because in my mind, if I didn't take these extreme steps, he was going to get an illness and die. And like, that's not normal. And so it all like makes sense. And what makes the most sense is that is why I have this cyclical pattern of anxiety. It's not because I'm not putting in the work or I'm not doing the therapy or I'm not on the right medication. It's because it's literally part of the disease. And that's why people have these rituals where they have to do certain things a certain amount of times, or they have to wash the apple in boiling hot water and like whatever, because our brains literally convince us if we do not do these things, something terrible is going to happen and then it's our fault. Even in terms of like my mom, when I'd wake up every morning and I'd be like, oh my God, okay, if she died, like what am I going to do? And I'd start panicking. After I was done panicking, I would sit there. The thought would come into my head, oh, because you just sat there for 2 hours thinking about your sick mom, she's going to die now because you just thought about it for so long and you put that energy out into the universe. And so now you're going to cause it to happen. And so then the cycle would start all over again. And like, I would sit in my head and I'd be like, she's not gonna. I would just, oh my God. It amazes me that no doctor caught this sooner. Cause like I said, I've been to 6 different therapists, 6 different psychiatrists. How did no one catch this sooner? This is a very long tangent, but basically the mental health stuff that I normally pride myself on sharing with you, and normally I would have been sharing every step of the way with you, I'm just giving you the, hey, this is everything that's been happening version. It has been nuts. It has been nuts. And so I'll do a whole another video or FaceTime basically telling you about how I'm now being treated differently now that we know it's OCD and not just pure anxiety or pure depression or whatever, because it has been life-changing and it was so simple, which like pisses me off because I don't blame the doctors or myself or anything. It just pisses me off in general that I could have had years of more peace and serenity in my life, but because I didn't know it was OCD and no one caught it and like whatever, I just suffered for years and years and years and years and years, because now I have this solution that I do that helps. It stops it almost immediately. I'm still working on it, but like it stops it almost immediately. And then I can just continue to function. I wish I knew that sooner. But anyway, so a lot of mental health stuff going on. The weird obsession with social media, my mom being sick, we moved, all the chaos of whatever. Now you have the full explanation of where I've been and why I've been MIA. I will say, going forward, I think I've gotten to a good enough place where if those types of comments do come in, I'll be able to function through it. And so hopefully we can get back to a more regular posting schedule. And also, my last thing I wanted to get to is I have been working on a huge secret project for this channel where normally I would have been posting FaceTimes with Emily or whatever. I have been channeling all of my energy into this project, and I promise it's gonna be worth it, and I promise you're gonna love it. And I do plan on posting it because it's episodes. So I do plan on posting the first episode at the end of May. It's a project that takes a lot of effort. So unlike FaceTimes with Emily, where I just set up my camera and I blab and I do minimal editing, this requires a lot of energy. And so this series that I'm about to launch, where I'm gonna post one a week. So, and that's my thing, is because I know I've been so unstable with posting regularly. I vowed to myself that when I launch this series, which will be at the end of May, I am not missing a week. So that's why it's taken me so long to launch the series, even though I've been working on it since December, because I want to make sure everything is ready to go before I start it, because once I start the series, I'm not giving myself any excuse to miss a week. Every episode I post is dependent on not only me, but the person involved and their schedule. And so it's taking a lot longer than like a podcast would or a vlog would or something like that, because each episode of this new series is with a different person, and it's a lot of working around their schedules. Plus, even though I'm broke, I know you have to spend money to earn money. I hired an assistant, love her. She's one of my really good friends now, but I hired her because she has all the good camera equipment and microphones, and she actually works in for a media production company. And so I hired her to come and film these episodes. And so I have to work around her schedule as well. And so normally when even let's just say a podcast episode, I would just have to sit down once a week, record it, edit it, and post it. With this, it's weeks of coordinating schedules and then filming and then weeks of editing, because it will have multiple camera angles and multiple audios going. I'm really priding myself on this new series being almost like a television production, because I believe in it that much that I want to make sure I'm putting something super quality out there for you guys to enjoy. And so I want it to be more than just a YouTube video slapped online. I want it to be a production, but it's still gonna be me. Nothing about me is going to change. It's just the quality of the video and the audio and the visuals are going to change, but it's still me, whatever. But yes, that's my explanation as to what's been going on. I have decided that I'm coming back. I'm doing FaceTimes with Emily until I can get that series going. And so I'm holding myself to at least one FaceTime with Emily a week. Maybe the others won't be so long. If you like them long, then they will be, because I never have a shortage of anything to talk about. And then I will do an apartment tour. And then after that, I'm actually gonna be, oh my God, how did I forget about that? I won't say the biggest thing, let's not rank them, but another thing, just to give you a little warning, I'll talk about it again when I start posting videos from Florida, but just so that people aren't confused, because I'm sure there's 3 of you left this far in the video. But huge thing weighing on me that I still am shoving to the depths of my brains that I don't have to deal with it yet. My best friend and my niece and my 2 nephews and her husband, my favorite people in the entire world, besides my girlfriend and other people that would be insulted, besides Joy and besides my family and everyone else. That's my favorite. My best friend and her kids and her husband are moving to Europe, and they are moving at the end of June, middle of June, next Saturday. I'm gonna be flying from Austin to DC so that I can help fly my best friend and her 3 kids down to Florida, where they're going to be living for a month with her mother before they embark on their move to Europe. So I'll probably post a whole vlog about that and what's going on, but next FaceTime with Emily will probably just be another sit down, then you'll get your apartment tour, and then you'll get your FaceTime with Emily, but in Florida. And then I'll probably post a couple of Florida vlogs because we're gonna have a lot of fun down there. It's like our last hurrah. I'm still gonna see them when they move to Europe, but it's gonna be our last easy hurrah where it's just a 3-hour plane ride to go see them instead of, you know, a 14-hour travel day. But I'm very happy for them. It just sucks. I don't like it. But I'm going to be moving to Europe in 2025. So I'll be near them again soon. It just sucks for now. And so I'm really sad about that. But I'm not thinking about it because I don't want to be sad. Anywho, all right, I'm gonna go because you have your explanation. I'll see you soon, and thank you for joining. Let me know if you like the long FaceTimes with Emily. If you don't, I'm probably just still gonna do what I want to anyway because that's what's gonna bring me peace and happiness right now. So I love you. Thank you for not giving up on me and for being here and for your support. And yep, okay. Love you, bye.